trying to give myself a long enough leash. I admire Jesse's ability to stand still. It is not a quality I possess. So I'm going to rearrange the chords a little bit so that I don't fall on something, because that's what we need. All right. So Jesse pinned me down about 2 weeks ago and said, "Hey, you want a date in January?" And I went, "Do you need me?" And he said, "Well, yeah." Because if y'all don't know, Jesse's going to Denver soon to teach soon-to-be ministers.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So, he's like, "How about you take January 8th?" And I went, "That's 2 weeks away." Okay. So I looked at the calendar. Well, Monday was the Epiphany. So pardon me while I let a little bit of my Catholic show. Anybody familiar with the Epiphany? Okay. Well, it's been a while since I've been Catholic, so I went ahead and did a little research just to be sure that I knew what I was talking about. Or at least sort of knew what I was talking about. Okay, so the Epiphany is when the Magi, thank you, Punish, arrived to meet Jesus. In the Catholic tradition, it is the Feast of the Three Kings. One of the reasons why they call it the Epiphany is because that is when God incarnate was revealed to the Gentiles. Okay, that's interesting. What's that got to do with anything? What is an epiphany? It's an aha moment. I actually looked it up and got a definition from Merriam-Webster, and it's an intuitive grasp of reality through something, usually an event, that is simple and striking, something that changes your worldview. So we have, tradition says 3, but if you go back and read the Bible, there were actually, it never specifies how many. But we have some Magi. What does that mean? What is a Magi?
Wise person.
It could be a king. It could be a wise person. It is somebody who studies hidden knowledge, sacred writings, prophecies. They're astronomers.
They could be priests.
They could be priests. But basically they study. And so these Magi, from somewhere a ways away, have been studying sacred writings and prophecies, and all of a sudden they see this star. And they go, I think I remember reading something about that. So we need to go check this out. So they get on their camels, and they travel for 12 days. You know the song, The 12 Days of Christmas?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody gets a gift for 12 days? Okay, well, that was rooted in, it took the Magi 12 days to get from where they started, from when they first saw the star, to their end game, their goal. Now, along the way, they did meet a man named Herod. And Herod was like, wait, where are you going? Why are you going? What is this? What? Because he couldn't see the star. The star was hidden from Herod. There's a very good reason. If you've read your Bible, you know why. And so the Magi were kind of like, well, we'll just tell him what we need to tell him and then get on our way. So they did, and they moved on and showed up. The question is then what did they show up with?
Gold, frankincense, and myrrh.
The 3 gifts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the gifts of the Epiphany are the three, the frankincense, myrrh, and gold. Why frankincense, gold, and myrrh? And this is where I had to do the research, because I was like, that is kind of a strange gift to bring to a baby, right?
Right.
I mean, really? Had there been three wise women, I'm not going to take credit for this joke. Had the wise women been there, they would have arrived on time, cleaned up the stable, helped deliver the baby, and brought a casserole. Instead, we got three men who showed up 12 days late with gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Okay. I know I'm being completely irreverent, but those three are the traditional gifts for kings and deities, meaning they knew who they were coming to meet. Gold is a traditional symbol of kingship. Frankincense is a traditional incense used on the altars. And if you paid any attention to alternative health, although we're not really alternative, frankincense is being researched for its inflammation fighting properties. And there's some really interesting research on how it affects your mood, both taking it internally and when you burn it as an incense. It is actually a mood lifter. Probably a good thing. And then myrrh. Myrrh is an anointing oil. It is also an embalming oil. So they are considered gifts of kingship, gifts of the priestly role, and gifts of his humanity. The sacrifice that he was coming to make, the sacrifice that he was willing to make. All right, so what's that got to do with science of mind, right? It's January. It's back to the basics. So I was like, okay, how can I take the epiphany, the aha moment, which science of mind is full of? Because what science of mind wants you to do is to look around, look at the world and go, oh, look a little closer, look a little deeper. Now, I could talk all night about science of mind. I could talk all night about the principles. I limited myself to 3. Because I don't want to keep you guys all night. I limited myself to 3. Oh, one more fun fact. Sorry. The 3 gifts, back in that day, as in today, are expensive. There's a possibility that those 3 gifts financed their trip to Egypt and some education in Egypt. I just came across that when I was doing the research and I thought, well, that's interesting. All right. Totally forgot about that. Oh, well. This is me. So instead of going for the principles, I decided to find this wonderful little book. See how big it is? How to Use the Science of Mind. And there are 12 chapters in it, and I picked 2. Because when I was flipping through the Science of Mind textbook, I found a 3rd one that I really liked, and I was like, okay, I'm going to limit myself to 2 on how to use the Science of Mind and take the 3rd one out of the textbook. And then I tried to tie them to the 3 gifts. Y'all get to tell me if I did a good job or not. So, let's talk about gold for a minute. It's heavy, it's pretty, you can make a lot of things out of it, right? So if we were going to pick a science of mind principle, and in this case it's me, if I was going to pick a science of mind principle, and tie it to gold, I'm going to choose spiritual awareness. What is spiritual awareness?
The awareness of something greater than ourselves.
The awareness of something greater than ourselves. Who are you?
One. Spirit.
Love. Spiritual awareness. He actually talks about the self discovers the self within the larger self. So if we are going to get anything done in this world, we need to know who we are. When we do mind treatments, when we do treatments in science of mind, we are looking for a revelation. We are looking to have an epiphany. We are looking to build that feeling to a point that is so big that it has no choice. The good news about the law is if you have enough feeling behind it, it's going to give you what you want. Meaning be very careful about what you put your feelings behind. We can learn that the hard way, but we'd rather not. It's about bringing to the surface that which already exists. I have a secret to tell you. You are perfect. You are absolutely perfect. You are capable, and you are loved. Now, the good news is that perfect means whole, not flawless. I've got plenty of flaws, but I'm still perfect. And even with all of those flaws, or maybe because of all of those flaws, you can ask him. He might tell you. I am of value. I am worthy of being loved. You are of value. You are worthy of being loved. You are a child of God. The spirit that created everything is you. You are a small part of that spirit. That spirit flows through you, lives in you, loves you. So the gold in Science of Mind is spiritual awareness. It's knowing who you are. One of my favorite stories that Jesse tells is one of his classes. I believe it may have been a practitioner class where somebody suddenly said, "Hey, who's your daddy?" And it became a code word when somebody was kind of spiraling out and forgetting who they were and forgetting whose children we can be. Lilia knows.
Who's your dad?
Who's your daddy? So it became a code word. Who's your daddy? So in those moments when you find yourself spiraling out, when you find yourself forgetting who you are, something little like that, who's your daddy? Or, if you prefer, who's your mom? Or your grandmother? Whoever your favorite person is. Who are you? You are love. All right, frankincense. If we're going to take on the priestly role, we're going to take on frankincense. And frankincense is the activity of right ideas. All right, so let's get with it that Ernest was writing in the 1920s and the 1930s, and sometimes his language is a little, are you kidding me? So the activity of right ideas, what does that even mean? I'm actually going to walk over here and look because I'm not sure. No, that's not true. What I want to do is make sure that I get the quote right because I've seen it a few times, and if we are all one, why aren't we all alike? Okay, Ernest answers that. And he answers it in several places, but one of the places he does answer it in is in here. I also think he does it in this thing called You, which, by the way, is my favorite book, but that's just what it is. Unity doesn't mean uniformity, okay? The activity of right ideas is actually about specializing the law. We talk a lot about the law. And it's January, so we're going to talk a lot about the law. Because the law doesn't make decisions. It's simply the mechanism that makes things happen. But you as a creative being, because we like to call ourselves co-creators, we don't create, but we do co-create. The power that creates through us. We are channels through which that power flows. So whatever it is that you want, what you have to understand is that it is going to come through you. You are going to specialize the law to you. So what do you want? You got to get clear on what you want. But you don't have to be clear on how it comes to you. That's the good news. Oh. I have terrible handwriting. Do you know why I have terrible handwriting? Because I tell myself I have terrible handwriting. So if the activity of right ideas means anything at all, it means that if I say I can't, then I'm right. But if I say I can, then I'm right. And sometimes it's better off not to know that you can't. I'm going to quote it, and then I'm not going to know who quoted it. But according to science, bumblebees shouldn't fly. Bees at all, they shouldn't fly. They're not aerodynamically sound. They shouldn't fly at all. But the bee doesn't know that. And he goes ahead and makes a little honey every day. May have been Henry Ford. And I put a meme up on Facebook, and then I quoted it in the opening prayer. The real power of healing is not in fixing what is broken, but in remembering the wholeness that we are. All right, so let's deal with the last one. We're going to deal with myrrh. And I'm going to ask you to sacrifice something in this one. Because this one I got out of the Science of Mind textbook. And I'll give you the page number as soon as I find it in my, nope, there it is. Okay, in the textbook, on page 41, if you want to go look it up yourself, it is called A Riddle of Simplicity. Now, I literally just had the textbook on my lap and was flipping through it. Like that. And I stopped and I went, wow, that's really cool. I don't know how many times I've read the textbook. I don't know how many times I've flipped through it. But that night, that's what I needed to see. The riddle of simplicity. So I'm going to ask you to give up. He made up a word. I'm pretty sure he made up a word because when I was typing, my computer did not recognize this word. Do away with the pondosity of thought. We might call that overthinking. I admit when I came in tonight, I was a little anxious. I was a little worried because I was overthinking. I've taken years of classes in this stuff. I know what this stuff is about. I know what I'm talking about. And I know that if I trust myself and open my mouth, the words that I need will come out. And yet I was sitting back at that table anxious because I was thinking about it. I don't have to. I have practiced. I have developed the calluses. I know what I'm doing. But sometimes I forget, and sometimes I overthink. So the rule of simplicity is exactly what it sounds like. What is God? Absolutely everything around you. When you look in the eyes of another person, you are looking into the eyes of God. When you look into the eyes of an animal, you are looking into the eyes of God. So everything is spirit. Everything is spirit. And in spirit, everything is possible. But what happens is we get in our own way. We start thinking about things. And we start deciding, well, it's got to be this way. Or it's got to look like this. Or it's got to be exactly this. Or, as you said, push play and delete. Push play and delete. And now, how many buttons do you have?
Many.
Too many. Okay? But it can be that easy. It can be push, play, pause, and delete. So when things are spiraling out, that's my word tonight apparently, push pause. Take a look at the picture and decide what you want to delete. And then once you've decided that, let Spirit do it and push play. Push play. There are no right words. But the good news is there are no wrong ones either. The rule of simplicity. We look too far away for reality. There is one God incarnate in all people. It is the same light. The question is, how much of reality are we going to express in our own lives? So let's go back to the Epiphany. Seeing something for the first time that has been there all along. Like the Spirit within you. So since I started with Jesus, let's go ahead and go back to Jesus for just a minute. What made Jesus so powerful? He recognized who he was. He knew that he and the Father were one. He recognized that the power that he used was not his own, but came through him from a source above. Within, without, and through. Was he the only one? No. I bet everybody in here could name a different one. I'll give you one, the Dalai Lama. Thich Nhat Hanh. He's been on my mind a lot. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with Pema Chodron. How many Native Americans, none of whose names I can think of right now, and I apologize. I think Seattle was one of them. All of these people recognize who they are. So I invite you to take the gifts of the Epiphany. Spiritual awareness. Who are you? The activity of right ideas. The fact that you have the right to specialize that law. You have the right to ask for what you want and to know that it will be given to you. And the rule of simplicity. Let it go. Let all of the guilt and the trapping and the partridges in the pear trees go. and be like a camera. Focus on what you want and take another shot. All right. I think I'm done for the night. But we can't close this out without closing it down in the traditional manner. Much like I opened. There is one power, one presence, one life, one love. That love flows through me, in me, as me. And I know that that love flows through each and every one of you. And I invite you into the gifts of the Epiphany. I invite you into that kingship. I invite you into that spiritual awareness of knowing who you are. I invite you into the priestly role of the frankincense, of knowing the what and releasing the how. And I invite you into the myrrh. Sacrifice the overthinking. And know you will always have the right words. That the words that you need will always come to you in any situation. Know that you are loved and know that you are loved. And I know this with all of the gratitude in my being. And it ripples out from me, out into the world, carrying my gratitude into all of the places and out into the universe. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. And so it is.
So it is.